Hello sanibonani babukeli sinamukele phela ohlelweni Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Siza kuwe mathupha la kumahamba phambili phela SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Mina mbukeli ngingo-Alisha intombi yakajali. Mbukeli ungathuki ngoba phela nawe ungabe ingxenye yohlelo lwethu namhlanje ngokuthi phela usithinte ngocingo ku 011-714-6918 noma uzame ku 011-714-6919. I-email yethu ithi consumer@sabc.co.za. Satholakala futhi ku Facebook na ku Twitter. A very good afternoon to you. Indaba yethu namhlanje mbukeli, the vulnerability of South African consumers to internet-based crime, often referred to as cybercrime, is fast becoming a concern. Over 1 million South Africans fell victim to cybercrime in the past year, costing the country nearly 3.5 billion rand. This translating to at least 2,300 rand per victim. It is this alarming statistic that has spurred the South African Banking Risk Information Centre, or SABRIC, to raise awareness about this problem and how to address it. But ngaphambi kokuthi sibhekisise kabanzi ubugebengu obenziwa nge-internet, akasibheke nanku umbiko.
Phansi wonke ubani ngoku nolwazi okanye ukhe ayisebenzise i-internet, nto ethi yabangela ukuqhagamshelana kwihlabathi lonke ibe yinto exhaphakileyo. Ii-computer, ii-cellphones kunye no-Facebook no-Twitter zenza kube lula yaye neendleko zoqhagamshelwano ziphansi kakhulu. Kodwa ayinguye wonke ubani oliqhwabela izandla elichano, bambi bazikhande ngenyeketyeni emva kokuba ngamaxhoba ezikrelemnqa ezilalele ukukhuthuza abo bakunabulumko bokusebenzisa i-internet. Maxa wambi uninzi luzifumene luphulukana nemali ngondlela mnyama. Obu buxhakaxhaka busetyenziswa kweli xesha buphelekwa kukunyuka kwezinga lolwaphulo-mthetho nobusela obenziwa ingakumbi xa kusetyenziswa i-internet. Ezona ndlela zixhaphakileyo zibandakanya ezi zilandelayo: ukuthumela imbalelwano ngokungekho mthethweni usebenzisa ikhompyutha ngenjongo zokufumana iinkcukacha eziyimfihlelo zalowo ubhalela yena, i-phishing kulasemzini; ukuqoqodisa, ukuthuka nokoyikiswa ngumntu ongamaziyo kusetyenziswa izinto ezifana no-Facebook. Yona le iquka imiyalezo yobumenemene ethi ufumene imali esuka kwa-SARS, nalapho kufuneka uveze iinkcukacha zakho zebhanki phambi kokuba uyifumane loo mali. Zikhona nezikrelemnqa eziloba abantu ngembalelwano efana nqwa naleyo esetyenziswa ziibhanki, kunye nokubiwa kweenkcukacha zezazisi. I-South African Banking Risk Information Centre, kwiphulo elisungulwe kule veki, licebisa uluntu ukuba lulumke xa lusebenzisa amaziko emali. Eli ziko likwathe iziganeko zokubiwa kweenkcukacha nge-email zezona zithande ukuxhaphaka. Ubani oqaphela unyawo lwemfene kwi-akhawunti yakhe yebhanka uyacelwa ukuba akhawuleze axele ibhanki yakhe ngokukhawuleza okudibene nokungxama. Uvuyisile Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho, eGauteng.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngalo mbiko kuvuyisile Mdoda. Manje ukhuluma kabanzi ngobugebengu obenziwa ku-internet. Mbukeli masamukele izivakashi zethu. Sinayo uKhailani Pillay, yena uphuma kwa South African Banking Risk Information Centre, i-SABRIC. Sibe nayo Mr. Craig Rosewarne from Wolfpack Information Risk. We are also pleased to be joined by Captain Paul Ramoloko from the Hawks panel. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Panel, let's just first understand. We hear a lot of things being said about this. What exactly is cybercrime? If I can start with you, Captain.
Yeah, Alicia, we are talking about crime which is committed through the use of internet. People receive messages on their cell phones being told that they've won some lump sum, and individuals will, under normal circumstances, do a follow-up to say, I got it, because there will be a message for the people to call. Then when they follow up, the people who have sent the message, they will ask for the person's particulars. At the end of the day, they will tell the person that deposit 3,000 so that we can release your money. At the end of the day, a person end up losing a lot of money because of this scam. So people are receiving emails, they are receiving text messages, some are also receiving letters. At the end of the day, these fraudsters only need their information so that they can rob them of their money.
Kailani, in your line of work, which is of course the Banking Association, what is the most popular kinds of cybercrime?
Well, certainly we're seeing that as the banks move their banking solutions to try and make banking more accessible to their clients, the perpetrators follow those very platforms. So, you've taken banking out of bank branches, you've provided ATMs, you provide internet banking, you provide mobile banking services. And the perpetrators look at how they can find vulnerabilities and ways in which they can try and defraud people out of their banks using those very platforms that the banks are trying to make banking easier. And I think the important thing is that people need to be absolutely vigilant all the time. These are safe ways in which to do banking, provided you follow all the rules. And the perpetrators know that a great amount of the risk actually lies with the bank client. The banks close up all the gaps as best they can. They deploy all kinds of technologies to try and protect their systems and their clients. But with the bank client, each of us deploys our own measures differently. And that's why it's so important we continuously, both the banks and SABRIC, continuously provide information on how people should protect themselves. Now, the captain spoke about phishing. Phishing is one of the ways in which they try to obtain personal information, banking logon information. Phishing is one of the ways. The other way, you may get it through a cell phone, which we call smishing. Sometimes you may get a telephone call where the person purports to be your bank or purports to be some company that they think that you're interacting with. But I think the important message that we're sending out now via the latest release that we've done is about email hacking. Now people don't realize the impact of it. They don't realize how important it is to keep their passwords and to keep their electronic platforms secure. Making sure that they have the latest antivirus software downloaded on those computers. And people always think and associate antivirus with their computers. And the important thing for consumers to remember is that they need to download it on their mobile devices as well, on whatever device they use to communicate electronically, to do banking on. It's vitally important to make sure that you protect those platforms and also to be very careful about where you put your information out. Because with social media, everybody's on this whole big hype. They're just so excited that they continuously tweeting, they're continuously posting all kinds of things on Facebook.
Many people that they don't even know.
Yes, and you need to be careful. You need to be a little bit skeptical. You need to be almost paranoid sometimes about what information you put out there, because cyber criminals use those platforms to harvest personal information. People will often say, but only my bank had that information.
That's what I want to know. Craig, I don't know if you can explain to us, firstly, where do these people get our information? This is personal information.
Well, just as we have a whole economy in our country and in the world, we also have an underground economy. So cyber criminals are very clever. They are operating together in syndicates, and it's really a very big money-making scheme now, where you've got professionals that are designing software with the sole purpose to go out and steal, to compromise a company or an individual's website, to steal these credentials, your personal information, credit card details, etc. Once that is stolen, and we've seen very, very big breaches happening around the world, running into the millions, into the hundreds of millions at times as well, where this information is stolen. That is then sold to various other agents that utilize that money, right down to the money mules that actually are the ones that collect those amounts of money as well. And this is something that we've seen now happening over the years, and the extent of different organized crime syndicates getting involved in this, in colluding with people on the inside. But we've also seen the rise of government activity, so not only government spying on other governments, but government spying on companies to steal corporate information and also spying on citizens or activists in this country and using technology to actually perform these acts.
So it could put the state altogether at risk with that kind of information being available to anybody.
It is a national threat to any country out there today, yes.
Now, Captain, South Africa is ranked third highest among the victims, the highest number of cybercrime victims after Russia and China. We know that Russia and China have got futuristic technology, which we don't even compare to. But how are they still on top and not being able to combat the cybercrime?
Alicia, you'll understand that having a growing economy in South Africa, you have these criminals not primarily operating from South Africa. You will have it's a bigger syndicate. They operate, maybe you take it from the US, Canada, then they go to Russia, then the Philippines. They operate all over the world. But the main thing that they are looking for is just to access information, and we can be ranked number 3. But there's a lot of things we are doing to try and send the message across, because if people know that they have to protect their information, then we will have one step towards solving the problem. But people get so excited, they give these criminals their information. At the end of the day, money is gone from their bank. Then they come to the police to open the case. When you try to trace this money, you find the money went to a bank. When you are trying to trace that bank, there's 4 other banks linked to that bank. The money is distributed. Again, it's a very big tree. So while we are trying to do our best to get to curb this crime, we are saying that it is important for people to know that it is their responsibility to protect their information. You can't just...
there is an information protection bill, isn't there, Captain? And how does that apply then to this whole situation where people are unwillingly, getting their information being given to everybody else? Well, the scammers in this instance. Yeah,
companies have an obligation to protect the client's information. But individuals also have the responsibility to protect their information, because we had a situation last year where information of clients was stolen from the dustbin thrown by one institution after these individuals didn't succeed to get the credit.
It was with,
yes. That is one leg, but the the main problem is where individuals themselves expose their information to these criminals.
All right, Mbugelo kwamanje asithi shwi eyitolo. But before we take that ad break, let me remind you that you can take part in this discussion by calling us on 011-714-6918 or 714-6919. Ungasithumela email consumer@sabc.co.za. Alternatively, catch us on Facebook as well as Twitter. Ungayindawo Mbugelo. Sikwamukele futhi Mbukeli, khumbula ukuthi nawe phela ungabamba iqhaza odabeni lethu la namhlanje ngokusishayela ucingo ku 011-714-6918 noma 714-6919. Email yethu I'm sure seniyazi by now, consumer@sabc.co.za, noma usithole futhi ku Facebook na ku Twitter. Engizokwenza manje ukuthi ngifunde ama message nisendele wona la ku Facebook. Ake siqale ngobut Moses Jobe Masangane Sithole. uJobe uthi it is very sad as you even try to approach the bank whom they claim you have an account with them which you don't know. They even claim that I had a loan with them and failed to show me their proof as identity copies, signatures, and approve it. How? Because I was not working. I have no trust to the banks. But Moses Jobe, Captain let's take uJohnny Sebothumu. I don't get it. Is how this scam get into our information? Okay, I don't get it. How do these scammers get our information? Because I thought when we open bank, furniture and clothing accounts, our information is safe and secured. Everything electronic is a mess. Even Rika is not safe at all. Johnny siyabonga kakhulu bhuti wami ngalo mbono. Simbongile Edwardson Mphayihle Pheli says, well, inkosi kodwa mna I think kufanele kube more awareness campaigns kwaziswe uluntu ngezi zinto ngoba mna ngoku ndiyayiqala ukuva nge-SA Banking Risk Information Center. Yaye we don't even know where to report such cases ngoba kaloku amapolisa wona ayasilela ukuphanda amatyala anjena yaye awathembakala kwakhona. Thank you very much Sibongile. Captain, that first one, it looks like somebody went and opened a banking account with his details and even opened a loan. How does that happen? How do you deal with such? Is this a common thing that you deal with, type of crime?
Yeah, we are talking about the issue of identity theft, but I think my colleague can maybe outline it
Kailani.
Yeah.
Is this one of the most common things that you actually deal with?
It's absolutely one of the most common ways in which the perpetrators try to purport to be other people. So they steal personal information. Now, as some of the consumers have actually indicated, they wonder how it is that the perpetrators have actually got hold of their personal information. And people always seem to think that, you provide that information to your bank, you provide it to any store or retailer that you're opening an account with. But if you really think about it, that's not the only place you actually provide your personal information.
In your CV?
So you need to think about all the places. Did you complete a competition form somewhere? Did you put your name, your ID number, your email address, your telephone
CV.
numbers? People put secondary numbers as well because they're so concerned that in case they do win this competition, they need to be somebody to get hold of them. So, I think the important point about all of this is that our personal information lies in so many places. Perpetrators know this. They do everything they can to harvest that information. And when Craig talks later, you'll also find out the ways in which they're actually able to get this because they're so technologically savvy and smart about how they can retrieve information. So what they do is they then purport to be you. That's identity theft. What I would suggest to people is that you should always regularly run checks with the South African Fraud Prevention Services. They allow you to provide your name and your ID number, and they can run a check to see if there's any credit that's been applied on your behalf, and you'll be able to determine that if you've not applied or did not open an account or borrow any monies from any institution, you'll be able to pick it up early enough. So that's one of the ways you could also try and protect yourself. But I think the important thing is that you need to report it to the police. And if it's a bank account that's the issue, or if you're finding that you have credit facilities suddenly in your name but you didn't receive the monies, you need to let your bank know as well, because the banks would investigate as would the police. But it's important to bring it to the attention of all of the necessary authorities.
All right, thank you so much, Kailani. Let's take Tammy from Sandton. Tammy, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for calling us.
Thandi.
Sis Thandi. Siyaphila sisi wami kunjani?
Ngiyaphila Sithandwa. Nathi ngiyajabulela lezi company ezithi zizosiza ngoba nami nginenkinga yecompany ethile nje edonsa imali yami ebank futhi awadonsa imali engaphezulu kwa100 rand. Adonsa imali engangaboma 69 rand every month. Uthola ukuthi mhlawumbe bayiphinda kabili enyangeni.
Okay, bathi mubheka ama statement sisi bathi imali yani le abayithathayo.
Naye ebank bathi ngiyayazi le company edonsa le mali yami ngathi mina ngiyazi le company bazama ukuyifonela bayithola bathi sePitori mabeyibheka.
Okay,
ayanga answer phone le phonela.
Okay, sisuke wacela ukuthi ibank ikwenzele stop order.
Ngicelile ebank ukuthi bengenzele stop order manje abangathi bathi abakwazi ukuthi bengenzele
into
abazowenzela yona bazoyibuyisa back lo mali yami ngempela bayibuyisa manje into engikhala ngayo mina ngeke lokhu ebeyidonsile lokhu ngahamba ngebank ngothi ibuyise back njalo manje angazi ukuthi usizo ngalithola kanjani ukuthi vele nje ivali bengakhona ukuyidonsa.
All right, sisithandi sicela ulalele lapho ngumabona kude wakho ne.
Okay.
Siyabonga sis. Kailani, this lady has a problem. Basically, there's a company or somebody that's pulling money out of her account. It's been going on forever. She's gone to the bank to apply for a stop order. The bank said they can't. So what she's doing now, she's playing games with the bank where the bank has to refund this money every time they pull it out. Is this a cybercrime? What can she do?
It's what we call a debit order scam. And what's happened is that, people, perpetrators again, and obviously, they have already again stolen your identity. They'll be in possession of documentation of yours. They purport to be you, and they submit to the bank because they already have your bank information already, your bank account numbers, they've got your ID document.
If it's going off as a debit.
The banks try to provide a quick service to their clients. So if it's a valid and authentic debit order, they provide the means where their clients can submit that through to them so that the debit order comes off every month. Now the perpetrators use that very platform again after they've stolen all of your credentials and your ID, and they go ahead and they inform your bank that it's you, they purport to be you, and that so-and-so needs to be paid X amount every month. Now the bank will act on that because everything appears to be authentic. You have to notify your bank and let them know that that's not your signature, that you didn't give that instruction, and the bank will stop that debit order. One of the things we say to bank clients, please check your bank statement every single month. Now I must tell you that it's a human reaction. People do not like to look at their bank statements because they don't like to see what's at the end of that bank statement. It's a normal human thing, but unfortunately, the perpetrators are causing us to behave differently. We have to look at those statements every month so that if you catch it quick enough, you can get your bank to cancel that debit order so that it's done with. But you've got to be careful about
But how realistic is it for the bank to say they cannot put a stop order on that debit, Kailani?
It's very difficult to answer that particular matter, but as in terms of normal practice, if you contact your bank and tell them that is not a debit order that you instructed them to do, they will stop that.
Yes. That's what I was thinking.
I would suggest that the caller actually contacts the account manager or escalates it higher up in the bank
manager.
And asks them to look into. The bank certainly will stop it if you give them confirmation that you did not instruct them to do that. They will stop that.
All right, thank you so much. Let's take Sis Thembi from Ehilbro. Sis Thembi, siyabonga ukuthi ubambe ocingweni. Siyakwamukela ohlelweni.
Yebo ngiyabingelela.
Siyaphila sisi.
Mina lobuthotho obukhona ngicabanga ukuthi mhlambe ukhona umkhoshosho owenzeka ngaphakathi kwabasebenza ebhenki. Yebo bona botsotsi banengqondo ekhaliphile bahamba phambili. Kodwa ngiyasola ukuthi sometimes enye information iphuma kubo labasebenzi basebhenki. Bese ngiba nombuzo la kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi kuthiwe umuntu imali yakhe idliwe ingene kwenye iaccount yomunye umuntu ngoba kwathi makavule iaccount waphambanisa inamba zefoni. Ngefoni kuphela ayina ngeaccount number efana nalo muntu. Ukhaze nami kwenzekile lokho imali yakhe yangena komunye wayidla yonke ene kwaba ngumzukuzu ukuthi ayithole back bathi nje nakavula account kwaba inamba yefoni kuphela wrong kukanjani?
Okay, Sis Thembi, siyabonga kakhulu. Do you want to explain that quickly, Captain?
Yeah, I do not know if I understood her well.
Okay.
But he's talking about some corrupt bank officials.
Yes.
Yeah, it does happen in some little instances that bank officials could
be the ones providing this information or even working with the syndicate, Captain.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that much because a lot of bank officials are upholding the ethics of the bank. We have done a lot of investigations of matters related to this, but in most cases you find that the consumers are one way or the other. The one who, mistakenly passed on their information to maybe a relative or maybe to somebody, then the person didn't protect the information, then
it's also carelessness on their behalf as well, because this one, Kailani, she's saying that I think there was a slip, like a mismatch of numbers, maybe just 1 or 2 digits when she went to open the account. So now when this person is getting paid, the money is not going to their account, it's going to another person's account that they can't even track. But Craig, just tell us, in your study, what have you found to be the most common trends in terms of cybercrime? And especially, let's look at Africa and the world at large.
Yes, there's a lot more sophisticated attacks happening out there, but even the basic attacks are still happening time and time again. So we're still seeing in South Africa, one of the biggest challenges is still phishing. Those emails, those SMSs that Kailani spoke about.
Yes.
We've just done an extensive Nigerian cyber threat barometer now. I was in Nigeria, in Lagos and Abuja 2 weeks ago. And the same things are coming up there as well. Social engineering, people, conning people out of money is still one of the biggest challenges that we are facing. So it really boils down to the people side of things. Technology is important, but it's the people
that need to understand
link in the chain that is failing
yes.
time and time again. And the only solution there is awareness. And this is what I want to have a talk about just now, is around a national awareness program. And, I salute what SABRIC is attempting to do here, but we need to do this on a far bigger scale in our country.
Absolutely. That's one of the callers as well. In fact, one of the Facebook messages, the people were saying that there's not any awareness. They're not even sure where to start to begin in terms of reporting the cyber cases. All right. For now, Mbugeli, let's take another ad break. Please, hlala nathi ungaindawo sishayele ucingo ku 011-714-6819 uma ufuna ukuthi ukhulume nathi la e-studio. Siyabuya khona manje. Welcome back, Mbugeli. You're still watching Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. We're coming to you live from SABC 1 eMzansi for sure. Siqhubeke ngendaba yethu Mbugeli, ukhumbule ukuthi ungasithinta ngocingo noma usinte kwi-email noma usithole ku-Facebook na ku-Twitter. Now, Craig, first, before we move on into the legal aspects of this, I just want to understand just how wide is this cybercrime phenomenon in South Africa?
Really, everyone can be and is affected by this. From children. So cybercrime extends down to teenagers, to young children that have got access to the internet, that are on mobile phones.
Yes.
They are falling victim to being extorted, to being, cyberbullied, to be stalked using the internet, right up the ladder to typically pensioners who are very trusting and are being scammed. My mother-in-law, for example, she is 75 years old. She regularly gets these phone calls from a call center somewhere in India where they claim to be phoning from Microsoft. Maybe some of the viewers here are getting the same phone calls where they're saying that your computer has got a virus and you need to pay $50 and we will take it off, and trying to extort money out of people. So people must realize it's not just about banking. This thing is far bigger and far broader. And I can share one very scary example of something that happened to a family living in Knysna, of all places. It was a Swiss art dealer, and it was married to a local person. This person was targeted by a gang of cyber criminals, and in fact it was a TV interview I did a few months ago, and they called me after the interview and tried to get some assistance. Yes. And what happened was their lives were made an absolute misery, where their bank accounts were targeted and hacked into and money was stolen. Their social media platforms were hacked into, and criminals through their social media platforms actually targeted their friends, their family, and said, I'm in trouble, and extorted money out of them there. When they reported it to the police went to go and take the case. And that evening, they got an email from the criminal or criminals with the actual recording of the conversation that they had with the police. Wow. And it really boils down to these lovely little mobile devices that we've got now. Just as an example, there's spyware available that is very cost effective. Some of it's actually even free, that can be loaded on your phone, that can really do all these things that I've just mentioned now, that assists not only cyber criminals, but jealous spouses or people to spy on people. So this, the technology side of things is really,
it's quite sophisticated.
It's overwhelming around what can actually be done.
My goodness, I hope ulalele Mbugeli lapha ekhaya xwaya ngempela ngoba ngathi cha cybercrime ivukele phezulu. Sizama siyabonga kakhulu ngokubamba ucingo sakwamukela ohlelweni sisi.
Yebo njani?
Siyaphila sithanda sami, sicela uqhubeke ngombuzo nombeka umbono.
Ngicela ukubuza ukuthi uma ungakazulahlekelwe i-ID kodwa umuntu akwazi ukuvula i-ID yakho, avule amakhadi etoro, enze zonke izinto, kwenzeka kanjani, kuza kanjani ukuthi umuntu akwazi ukuphatha i-ID yakho wena ungakazulahlekelwe yiyona?
How siyabonga sisi ukuthi usibuze ngalowo mbuzo. Captain, sicela usichazele.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, when a person loses an ID...
She didn't lose it, it's still with her, but there's somebody who has the exact same copy who's opening bank accounts and furniture accounts everywhere else, but she's still in possession of hers and has never lost it.
Yeah, that is the issue of identity theft again, where the person, obviously there are, corrupt officials who are assisting these syndicates to access these identities. You will know that people also just find their marital status changed to married. Yes. Married to people they do not know. But there's a lot of things that the law enforcement are doing to try and take those people out of the system. But if a person suspects that there is a theft of his identity. It's important to just approach the police and report the matter, so that, because when you have to go and approach a bank, they will want to have a case number to say, did you report the matter to the police? So once a person suspects that his identity is stolen, the first thing to do is just to approach the police, and then from there will be further assistance.
But I want to know now, since her ID was not stolen, what can she do now? How can she be helped?
Now, is the issue of just checking her profile as to what wrong was done with her identity. If maybe somebody opened a bank account with that ID, that can be done. And but the first thing to do is just to open a criminal case with the police, so that a proper profiling can be conducted.
We just want to know, hey, what sort of intelligence or reinforcements is really needed to try and deal with this type of crime? Craig, do you want to try and tell us that?
So our government's brought out a really great cybersecurity policy framework, which spells out exactly what the challenges are. It spells out cybercrime. It's the responsibility of the South African police. Cyber espionage is the responsibility of our state security. Cyber warfare, which is another topic, is the responsibility of our National Defence Force.
All right.
But we are not implementing the national requirements to deal with this. So, the very name of your show, it's your right. Our citizens in the country have a right to privacy, have a right to protection.
Absolutely.
And the structures are not in place to provide those citizens with the necessary protection mechanisms. So we've got a police force. They have got capabilities, but I believe we need to have a lot more. We've got to have a national awareness campaign that is rolled out to make people aware of what the dangers are.
They really need this more awareness,
Totally.
Craig. Yes.
And updated on a regular basis. We need to have structures in our police force, in our police stations, that are understanding what is being reported and able to escalate this rapidly to the investigation teams and to the crime intelligence teams that are trying to deal with this.
Yes.
And then right through to our laws. Our laws need to be enhanced. We need to send a strong message out to criminals out there. Don't come and mess in South Africa and try and rob our citizens. That you will be prosecuted and you'll be sent to jail for 10 years plus. So there's a lot of things that we really have to do, and I really feel within senior levels of our government, they are aware of the challenges.
Yes.
They are moving too slow to deal with this. This should have been dealt with 5 to 10 years ago. We should have had the structures in place to deal with this.
We're going to come back to that comment there, Craig. Let's take Ntokozo from my home province, KwaZulu-Natal. Siyakwamukela sis. Ntokozo, siyakwamukela. Ntokozo, usekhona olayinini? All right, we seem to have lost Ntokozo. Captain, please just now awusichazele kabanzi ukuthi mhlambe yini kahle kahle edingekayo ukuthi nina as ama-Hawks nisebenzisa what kind of intelligence ukuthi nibambe lama criminals?
We would not really want to go into the content of the... but there's a lot of work we are doing. We cracked on a syndicate. We have a bigger case going on in the Niger Magistrate Court, where we arrested, we actually cracked on this syndicate operating in various provinces from KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, Gauteng. What the first leg of this syndicate were specializing on stealing identity, just getting people as information, either via skimming their bank cards or, hacking their information on the internet. And we are doing very well on that case. We arrested over 100 people in one case, and half of them, they have been convicted. The case is still underway now. One of the victims was robbed of $500,000. And we are saying that, while we are trying to do our best, it is also important for the consumers to protect their identity.
Absolutely. Now, Craig, all right, before we ask you that question, Craig, let's take Lunga from the Eastern Cape. Lunga, siyakwamukela ohlelweni.
Sesilokulandela engxaki bengicela ubuza uba into enzekayo bendivule i-account so kuthiwa ndikwa-credit bureau but nazange ndezetyala.
Okay.
So ndithetha xa ndiyayo kulaa vele ndibuza ke ngokuthiwa ndinetyala phi, andifumani uba ndinetyala phi na. Kuthiwa ichaza uba ndinetyala phi na ngokuba ndikwazi uvula i-account.
Okay, but all right. Usuke wathola usizo ku i-credit bureau wababuza ukuthi baphi labantu abaku-blacklistile.
Bendicela fonela phaso kwathi apha manifex ID number kunye lephepha likakhansila so ndalithumela ibi-18 yale nyanga kuphelele kwathi uzawuhlala i-5 days andikafumani impendulo lango wena ndandifowunela phaya andifumani mntu.
Okay, bhuti wami. All right ke bhuti sicela ulalele kumabonakude. Mhlawumbe sokhona ukuthi sikunikeze inamba ongayithinta ukuthi bakusize ngoba namhlanje sikhuluma mayelana nobugebengu beku-internet nebhuti wami.
All right, senze uba kudala zikhona inamba zetinazo zapha credit bureau kuthiwa andifumani mkonzo but azwaye ndibuza apha kuwena.
Okay, bhuti. All right, sizokufumanela inamba emesibuye ebreakini nebhuti. Siyabonga kakhulu. Hayi ke mbukeli ithi siphinde siyibambe lapho futhi sithi ubuyele itolo. Please do not go anywhere. Sikwamukele futhi mbukeli. Remember, you can also take part in this show. Our participation studio line is 011-714-6918 or 011-714-6919. You can also email us your thoughts and views to consumer@sabc.co.za. Noma usithole ku Facebook na ku Twitter. Ake sithathe uNtokozo from KwaZulu-Natal. Ntokozo usubuyile layinini?
Yebo ngiyile ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Siyabonga bhuti wami ukuthi usiphinde usithinte futhi sicela uqhubeke ngombuzo noma umbono wakho.
Sithi lapha ngingathola inkinga ngiyedrobheni Friday. Uma ngithi ngafika nginemali ngino-2000 ekhadini nami. Mangithi ngiyafika ngithola ukuthi ngino-200. Mangithi ngiyabuza ukuthi kwenzakaleni ngingena ngaphakathi ngifuna ukwazi ukuthi kwenzakaleni. Bangitshela ukuthi abazi ngoba ikhadi belikini but imali ayikho and akukho lutho engingayijoyina and understand ukuthi imali yami idleke kanjani because le message ayingenanga so make sure ukuthi imali iyaphuma kwi-account yami.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu bhuti Ntokozo. Sicela ulalele nje lapho kumabona kude wakho. Kailani, I think it's something similar to the previous caller's problem as well. He had 2,000 rand in his account. By the time he got to the next point in town of wherever he was going, he had 200 rand in his account and he had not taken out his card in public places. He had just literally drawn money out of that place before going. And then when he got to his destination, he's got like 1.8 thousand rands less.
You know what happens is that cards are actually skimmed at the ATM.
Is this a similar problem now with the previous caller?
No, the previous caller is just a matter of identity theft, where somebody's stolen his identity, gone ahead and created credit on his name and didn't pay it. It becomes a default, and then his name goes through to the credit bureau as being the defaulting party. And unfortunately, he's got to go through the whole process now of trying to clear his name.
So he really needs to contact the credit ombudsman. Okay, Buti, wena osfonele before siya ekhefini sicela ukuthi uthinte i-office le credit ombudsman. All right, please go on.
On the second, the last caller, it seems that his card has been skimmed at probably at an ATM. And what we say to people all the time, you may not know that there may be a device at the machine that actually copies the mag strip, the little brown strip, as it goes into the card reader. It copies that data, and the perpetrators come back and they collect the device that they've placed there. But one of the ways to protect against that, because even if they get your mag strip data, which enables them to make a counterfeit card, if you cover the keypad of the ATM, they're not going to be able to get your PIN number. So they cannot draw money if they don't have your PIN number.
Even if they have all that information there.
Even if they've got all that information, they still need your PIN number. So it's the easiest thing is for you to never ever use an ATM without covering the keypad. We say this to everybody, but unfortunately, the majority of South Africans still don't listen. And it's not just a South African problem, it's all over the world.
True.
So you need to be able to have this practice wherever you go to and use an ATM. Simple, just take the hand that you're not using to key in the keypad, put your hand over it, put in the PIN number so that the person, if there's a camera somewhere, it doesn't pick up that information.
All right. Now, Captain, why would such a prevalent type of crime be so largely unregulated by government? Whose department should this fall under?
Identity theft, it falls within the bigger picture of fraud, because either is skimming or is phishing or hacking. When it comes to the police, it becomes fraud. Then only the modus operandi used by these criminals will guide the content of the case. But when a person comes to us, we are talking about a fraud, because information has been taken and money has been extorted from this person, then criminally it is fraud.
All right. Now, Craig, when they say that, what do they mean by referring to cybercrime as a forum for of choice for white-collar crimes, especially in South Africa?
So they're really talking about using technology to enable and to escalate those different types of crimes. And really what we're seeing is technology nowadays is being used to, and that's why it's very difficult at times to actually define what cybercrime is, because technology is being used now more and more in traditional crimes as well, to either commit the crimes or to assist the criminals in communicating. You know, as I mentioned earlier, we're even seeing technology now being used by governments to attack another country to bring down the infrastructure. So, for example, last year we saw 30,000 computers damaged in a computer attack in Saudi Arabia in a large oil company. We saw an Iranian nuclear facility attacked only using computers, and it was brought down as well. So that's why the actual mandate for cybersecurity in our country falls under state security. They've got the mandate to actually drive that and pull all the different legs of cybercrime from the police and the defense, and to really look at this, because it is a national problem that needs to be dealt with at that level.
All right, let's take Joseph on the line from Orange Farm. But Joseph, welcome to the show. Your question or comment, please.
Yes, ma'am. So ngine problem leyo ukuthi nami ngine account kuphi kwenye yamabhenki ne ngafonelwa abantu bathi kimi hey ikhathi lakho litholile ngithi ikhathi lane bathi no le breakdown no angizange apply leyo nto ne ene ngabe sengiyayidropa mangidropa the 14 month imali seyiyadonsa ebhenki. Hayi bo ngiye ebhenki bathi no kunesivumelwano ayenza nabanye abantu. Nithi no angenzanga isivumelwano. Nithi no reversani leyo mali bayireverse until 5 times. Manje ngeke ngikhona ukuthi niyivale nabathi no ukuyivala sineke sikhona ukuyivala. So ngigcine senize nidrowe leyo mali lapho ashiya ukuthi at least kusale na 50 rand. But njalo nje before mina ngingayodonsa ngingabhadala mhlawumbe ezinye izinto senze ngiyasaba ngoba mangifaka imali bona beza before isikhathi leso ngayobhadala ama-account wami manje sengisaba ukufaka enye imali sengiyishiye just na 50 rand kuphela.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu but Joseph, if ubulalela uhlelo but ngiyacabanga ukuthi awuzwanga impendulo, bekhona usiso besifonele enenkinga efana exactly neyakho but sokuchazela mesibuya ekhefini. Mbukeli yithi sithathe i-commercial break yethu yokugcina. Please stay with us. Welcome to our final segment. In Mbukeli, we continue with our conversation on the dangers of cybercrime and, of course, the vulnerability of South African consumers. Uma ngabe ufika manje usuphuthela okuningi Mbukeli, ngoba phela besiloku sikhuluma ngokuthi wena ungenza njani ukuzivikela kulobugebengu be-internet. Osike ngifunde ama-Facebook messages awu-2 okugcina. Asithathe uMafungwashe Makahle Gwiji uthi sicela inamba yama-Hawks bo uma sekuphela uhlelo please. All right, uCaptain siyazi ukuthi uzosinika ama numbers, and of course we'll also have them on our screens. Wena hlala nje lapho ubuke uhlelo Mafungwashe. Makabongwe Mkhize says greetings. What I really don't understand is how it can be fraud to do tax returns for other people, because as far as I'm concerned the service called e-filing is legally issued by SARS, and the only way to get access of this service is through the South African Revenue Services website. Thank you so much Makabongwe, but ngiyacabanga ukuthi khona into ongayizwisanga kahle, so Sis Khailani, please explain to our consumer, Makabongwe Mkhize.
I think the probably there's a little bit of confusion around it. What we're actually saying is that the perpetrators of cybercrime, those that are trying to obtain bank information and personal information, actually hone in on reputable companies and organizations. They pose to be as them. So with the South African Revenue Service, because it's coming up to tax time where people will be submitting their tax returns,
yes.
And of course the South African Revenue Service is so efficient that when you submit your return within no time,
you get a response,
if you're getting a
yes.
rebate, you get it back very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
So what's happened is that the perpetrators have sent out phishing emails purporting to be the South African Revenue Service. On that email, there's also our bank's logos, different banks' logos. It appears very authentic. And what it says is that you should go ahead and respond to this and if you do and provide all of the details on the link that's provided, you will get your rebate back within 24 hours. Now, what happens is that everybody responds emotionally. It's part of social engineering. The perpetrator is forcing you to behave in a particular way. And because people want their rebates quickly,
yes.
they click and they provide all their personal information. And I think this is one of the things we've been saying. Remember that you actually end up giving your information to the criminals, not realizing that you're doing it in these different forms.
Absolutely,
you know, it's not
yes.
only the South African Revenue Service. You may get a mail from some other reputable company. You could get from somebody selling goods that you think, gosh, this is so cheap,
Absolutely.
and I'm going to buy this. And you
and we know how gullible South African consumers are.
You want to buy designer goods cheap.
Thank you so much, Kailani, for that clarification. I hope usizakele Mbukeli. Craig, very, very quickly, your advice to South African consumers on the needs to know about cybercrime.
Well, really, just have a suspicious mind. Unfortunately, we have to in this day and time. Any technology you are using, just to make sure it's got the latest versions. We've just had a very big scare around the world around secure websites with a big vulnerability that is causing a lot of people to be concerned now. We're seeing that happening out there as well. And just to be vigilant out there, not just to trust.
To give your personal information that freely.
Yes, and also at a country level, what we're doing now is through our company, we actually are providing a bit of a training bursary for a number of graduates that have left. We're putting them through a 1-month intensive program because there's a skill shortage in our industry. And we are arming them to become cyber warriors, to be able to go out into government and the private sector and help us fight.
Thank you, Craig. Very quickly, Captain, 30 seconds, your message to our consumers and how can they get hold of you?
We are saying that we know that it's exciting to get free money, but people must be not excited when they are being told that there is large amount of money coming to them. They must know that it is the other person, the other side, trying to extort money from them. So they must be very careful.
Thank you,
the
Captain.
Hawks is an investigative wing of the police. To get to us, they must just interact with the nearest police station.
Thank you so much, Captain. And of course, Mbukeli, masibambe lapho njengoba phela sesishiwe isikhathi. Let me thank my studio guests for their time and their incredible knowledge today. Ngibonge nani babukeli ngokuba nathi kuze kube manje. Please join my colleague Usiphiwe Nzawubi next week Friday phela for another live consumer topic of the week. Ukubukela impinde ezinhlelo zethu. Please join us every Monday morning khona la kumamba phambili SABC 1 eMzansi for sure from 10 o'clock kuya ngo 11 o'clock. From myself uAlisha Nkosazana Rajali and the entire team, it's goodbye. Msale kahle.
Yilungelo Lakho.